Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rambling RunOff Podium Show, MLB Playoff Edition. Yes, tonight for our Podium Show, we'll be looking forward to the MLB playoffs, which begin next week, October 5th, and they run up all the way up until November. So tonight, if you don't remember, we will be doing our Podium Show, I'm repeating myself. The Podium Show highlights the number one thing that is in the sports landscape. Not the second thing, not the third thing, the first place thing on the podium. So yes, MLB playoffs, we're going to be talking about that. And I got some friends with me tonight, a lot of them, to talk about which team is going to be the World Series Champion. We're going to be saying who is the best team, worst team, who's going to win the Cy Young, who is the best batter throughout the league, and at the end of the show, we're all going to say who is going to win the World Series. And first up, speaking to introduce themselves, my good old friend, Matt Barrero. Matt, please say what's up to the people.
What's going on, everybody? Robert, thank you very much for having me on the show. First time. Looking forward to talking some baseball. Been a little bit of a stressful year, Dodgers-wise. Hopefully this last week will be some fun, and postseason will be even better. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. And next up on our show, Mr. Jonathan Ghattas. Please say what's up.
Hey, what's up, Robert? Yeah, thank you for having me on for the first time here. Looking forward to talking some baseball here in this last week, and just postseason and this stretch run here between the Giants and Dodgers.
Yes. And another person you guys should all know, a good old friend of mine also. We used to do a podcast back at Cal State Dominguez Hills. Mr. Jeremy Gonzalez. Jeremy, say some stuff about yourself, please.
What is going on, everybody? Robert, I'm going to go ahead and echo the last two gentlemen, and thank you for having me on for the first time ever. Being a listener of the show, it feels good to be on it now. So I get a good feeling about it. And there's a lot to kind of break down with this baseball season. It's our first season after like our wacky year with COVID. But I think this has been one of the most unique seasons that the sport has ever seen, not to mention that wire-to-wire NL West race between the Dodgers and Giants. It's been the most entertaining division to watch, and it's still going down to the very last week. So a lot to break down there, a lot to break down across the league, and we're going to get into it real soon, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, of course, once again. And for our listeners who heard our last Podium Show on the college football preview, returning back to the Podium Show, Mr. Daniel Tom, say hello again to our listeners.
Hello, Robert Rios, gentlemen, fellow Ramblin' Runoff listeners. I guess Robert likes me enough to continue bringing me back on this thing. So sorry for our first-time listeners. You get to hear me talk for about 90 minutes, but that's fine. We'll make it work. In other words, thank you again, Robert, for having me on here. It's good to see you gentlemen again, and I look forward to talking about America's pastime with the rest of our audience here.
Yeah, thanks again for coming back onto the show. I mean, the last time we talked, we almost talked for a damn near 2 hours about Cincinnati and BYU.
And look where that got us. Look how they're playing now. But that's not the point of this podcast.
Yes, on today's podcast show, we're talking baseball. Some baseball in the cornfields. You guys get that reference? No? Somebody? No?
Yeah, I got you.
I'll take what is the Field of Dreams game, Alex, for 1,000?
Wrong. No, just kidding. I don't watch Jeopardy. Come on. But yes, we're going to be talking MLB playoffs. So are you guys ready to start the rambling?
Let's get it going.
Let's get it.
All right, for sure. So the first thing we're going to be reviewing the MLB season. So we'll start off, I guess. Matt, you want to start off again with, since I introduced you first? How was the MLB season for you?
Yeah.
So, quick bullet points.
I mean, look, I'll be honest, I'm obviously a Dodger fan. We won, in a shortened season last year. The title counts because everyone had the same season. I don't care if they call it a Mickey Mouse trophy. It counts. Having said that, of course, as a Dodger fan, I want to win a full season trophy just to, shut the haters up. I will say that having a 60 game sprint in comparison to a regular season it feels like a little different. Like the season's gone on for a very long time. I remember covering games for my internship when the season started in April, and now we're going into October, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did that in the same year. So it's been a hell of a season, to be honest. I think with everything coming down to the wire here, NL West race up for grabs, you got NL East up for grabs, and then you look at the AL East with the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Blue Jays vying for those wild card spots. I think this has been a heck of a season, to say the least, and very memorable. And obviously with the playoffs coming up, it's exciting. It's exciting times no matter what.
But yeah, sounds good, man. And Jonathan, what can you say about the MLB season?
Yeah, I think just the biggest thing was coming back and having the full season after the shortened season last year, and just the lockdown and just the pandemic and everything, and just being able to have fans back in stadiums and that, I think, really has made this season more memorable. And then just on top of that, to see things like, yes, we've had a good playoff race, out west, and the wild card races are tight, but to see really Showtime and Ohtani doing what he's doing in Anaheim is really probably what's made this the most incredible season, because this will never happen again other than him possibly doing it again next year. But I think that in itself has been really crazy to just be able to watch someone do this, pitch and hit. We've heard stories of it, like Babe Ruth doing it, right? Because we never were able to watch that. So to actually see someone do it is incredible. Kind of sucks he's stuck on a shitty team, but that's the Angels, and that's just been that organization for the last half dozen years. But I think that just in itself has made this season really great. On top of, I'll admit it, didn't think the Giants would do garbage, and they're been the best team in baseball. Was waiting for them to fall off the cliff in April, May, June, July, and we're here, and it still hasn't happened. So I think that's been nice, but really just the overarching of having the season come back and watching Showtime do his thing has been just really fun. I think we needed that, especially after the pandemic last year.
No, yeah, Showtime, he's fun to watch, but very bad team.
Yeah, the Angels, with Trout hurt, Rendon, the Pujols ordeal, just really unfortunate for him to be stuck there. But again, I feel like it's brought eyes to the game and, made people more interested in going to Angels games, which is nice because no one goes there.
You can't beat $3 tickets to go see Shohei Ohtani.
You go.
That's all I got to say.
Exactly.
Seconded.
It's easy money.
$3? I thought they were $9.
Nah, I saw maybe a week or two ago.
That's front row. You want front row? It's $9.
Yeah. Triple the cost to sit front row.
I was saying, I got an email from the Angels last week for the final homestand. They're like, $3 tickets to this last homestand. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Desperation.
Well, we're not going to be talking a lot about the Angels, but let's move on here before we get sidetracked. We got Mr. Jeremy. How you like baseball?
I love the sport, and I love how this season has turned out, not just for the Dodgers, not just for LA, but just in general as a whole. Like, I think for me, the first thing that I was really happy about was having fans back in the stadiums. I think it was dearly missed. We kind of had a little bit of that towards the end of the 60 game shortened season, but to have that full crowd, to have that, all those crowd pops, for them to kind of be there to witness a lot of unique moments that have happened this season, I think has been great. going back to kind of what Ghattas was saying, the fact that we're witnessing such a unique season from Showtime. I mean, like you can't deny Ohtani's greatness this season. It's something that will likely, I don't think, will be replicated again. I've only heard stories of, somebody doing this. To actually see it, on a TV actually happening in live time, I think is something that is just unreal to think about. And I'll be able to tell my kids about it. Just like we've heard so many stories from, the generation that saw Babe Ruth do it. So that's something that I think is going to be fun. I didn't think that the NL West race was going to be this tight to this point where it's at. I think it's like the good old fashioned like pennant race, like how baseball used to be, where it would kind of come down to the wire. We don't get to see that a whole lot nowadays, but to be able to see that between the Giants and Dodgers has been nothing short of entertaining. And a lot of people thought this is the kind of race that was going to come from the Padres, and instead they were one of the bigger disappointments, which we'll go into that later on. But this season has been fun, and it's something that I really enjoyed. I also enjoy that we've been able to kind of give Astros, or like the baseball world has been able to give Astros what they really deserve, and they've been able to jeer them as much as possible. I hate that we got robbed of that last season when it was all fresh, but to be able to kind of make up for that this time around was pretty good. So that's also something I've enjoyed.
Awesome. And Daniel, what has been the highlights of the MLB season for you?
I mean, kind of just going off of what everyone has already mentioned, having fans back in the stands is such a huge plus. I mean, having a full 162 game season with an entire summer full of baseball, we didn't really get much of that last year, considering with a 60 game season last year, we started playing the last week of July. So to have baseball to fall back on this summer and to have everything we've seen occur this season, it doesn't get much better than that. And I don't want to say this is a very unconventional Major League Baseball season, because it's baseball, it's sports, anything can happen. But to see what we've seen this year, both in Anaheim and all over the country, it's amazing what the things baseball can do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I'm just glad to have more baseballs than what we had last year. Like, well, for one, it's a struggle for me to see games already. So last year I was like, oh, okay, now I'm only going to see less than a half what I usually see. But hey, when the playoffs came around, World Series was on, I had my TV. Yo, me, you, and Jeremy would be legit on phone calls watching the games together. So I mean, that was a plus. I kind of missed that low key, because I remember there was one time Jeremy's like, all right, don't spoil it for me. You're like a minute ahead of me. So I had to make sure every time they hit a home run, I had to make sure I didn't celebrate up until he saw the home run.
You mean when we're writing stories with beers and we're trying to do it during the World Series?
Yeah, that too. That was pretty funny. And just to let everybody knows, Mr. Beers was our old advisor at Cal State Dominguez Hills at the DH Bulletin newspaper. And yeah, he's also another big Dodger fan. We were watching all the games while we were working. But yeah, like how everybody here said, we're just glad to see baseball with fans again. Seems more exciting. It seems as though all the players came back more hungry than ever. We've been seeing some great baseball and some not so great baseball. So I think we'll move on a little bit here. If you guys can bear with me, so we don't always just go step by step. I know you guys can see our show notes that we got here going. If you guys can, I'll name you off right now. Tell me what surprised you this season. Any disappointments? Your teams that missed the playoffs, players that played good, players that played bad, and who do you think was the best team right now in the season going into the playoffs? And I'll go out of order. And okay, apparently someone has their hand raised. Daniel, you want to go first? Go for it.
I'm actually surprised Tampa has kept up the momentum that they had from last year's World Series.
Yes.
I really just expected the Rays to be a one-hit wonder. And to see what they've done this year in the always tough American League East, it what's the word I'm looking for? It's someone help me out here. English majors, comm majors, someone help me communicate my message.
I mean, it's been incredible to see the fact that they, Blake Snell leaves the team. I thought that was their best pitcher.
Yeah, same.
And the fact that they have done surprisingly better without him. I think incredible could be a way to describe it. I'm blanking on the word you're thinking of, but I know where you're going with it. Hopefully I can relay it as much as I
mean, if I could jump in to give my 2 cents very quickly on the Tampa Bay thing. Yeah, I thought they were going to be done after Snell left. I'm like, all right, well, you just got rid of your best pitcher. And Tampa Bay's kind of always, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, they've always kind of been like that smaller market team down there.
But this is why, with the success they're having, they want to stay in Tampa. You don't want to just play in a dump like the Trop. So I understand.
Yeah, crappy stadium
fans
too.
have felt.
But somehow they've just like stuck together, and hitting's good, pitching's good. Like, I can't name you any big names off that team. Like, if I go up to a baseball wizard, they would probably know, but to like the common fan, you're like, oh, Tampa Bay, like you wouldn't expect them to be there.
Give me Brett Phillips and Randy Arozarena, and we're good to go.
Is that how you say his last name? Arozarena?
Yes, sir. I think he's my favorite player on Tampa Bay. He's fun to watch. Real fun to watch.
Yeah, I did see he leads the team in like most batting categories.
And
yeah, he's a solid player.
This is why they just clinched the American League East title.
See, I know. That's why I'm like, dude, like, I didn't expect them to be here. Jonathan, you being a little quiet. What did you think about Tampa Bay, since we're on the topic?
No, yeah, I think, again, maybe, yes, a little surprised that they've been able to keep up the momentum. But really, this is now like 3 years, because they also made it, I want to say, to the wild card game, or at least had a solid season prior to the pandemic. So being able to do it in a longer season in that division with the Yankees in Boston and Toronto is definitely impressive. And really, I'll give a lot of, we don't talk about managers a lot, but Kevin Cash has been really great there and taking over after Soch left, and just really been able to make like a really solid team with, again, you let Blake Snell go, who's been trash in San Diego, and you look real smart, not paying him the money and being able to use, openers and kind of mix match your bullpen and get as much pitching as they've gotten out of the team. Yeah, and offensively, same thing. I mean, like the boys said, there's a couple guys you can name. I throw in Kiermaier, who plays great defense, and just kind of solidifies that team with the energy. But I think they've done a good job of contending and playing good baseball. But I think unfortunately they'll have to face Boston or New York in the first round, and they'll get bumped in a 7-game series. They just, with this long season, they're not going to be able to have enough offense to beat one of those 2 teams.
No, I mean, like that last season run that they did was pretty good. You had to go up against the Astros, who just hit like crazy, and for them to pull it out and to make it to the World Series, good on them. But like how you said, like the Magic has to figure out, who's going to pitch, who's batting, because like I said, if I'm wrong, tell me. Small market team, you're not going to have a lot of big names. You got to work with what you got. A little money ball strategy comes into play here. So, yeah, I mean, good on them that they were able to continue to play well. They beat good teams. I mean, if they didn't, they wouldn't be in first place. But I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say that they would bounce out after the first round.
Again, playing, if you're stuck with playing Boston or the Yankees for 7, they're conference or division rivals, right? So yeah, I mean, I think they can push it, but again, offensively, the way the Yankees are slinging and the way Boston can hit, it's going to be tough to outslug a team like that, and win 4 at a 7. But again, to having home field is always, I think, will actually matter. I think it didn't really matter last postseason, right? We didn't have fans, so it didn't matter at all. But I think this year, with the fans, that could play a factor. But again, I just think Tampa is one of those teams we kind of they're like a placeholder. They're just, you don't really expect them to win.
Oof. Calling a first place team a placeholder. Dang.
Hey, man,
considering
facts, bro.
considering the Sox in the beginning were pretty bad. Yanks kind of in the same pool, but they also pulled it together. Would anybody else?
Let's keep in mind though, the Yanks got really hot, and then they went on this like big time slump, and that just allowed the Rays to play catch up. And look where we are now. No one thought Tampa was going to win the American League East, and now the Red Sox and the Yankees are fighting for a wild card spot.
I mean, like it's been a while since Tampa Bay's been good, but like the early 2010s, they were decent, and then they just disappeared again because that Moneyball strategy can only last you so long, and at some point it's like, oh man, I picked the wrong guys. Now we suck.
When I think of that early 2010s Rays team, I keep going back to that last day of the regular season in 2011, and the Rays, I think, were a game out of a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think they needed the Red Sox or the Orioles to lose, because this is when the Orioles were actually still a decent ball club.
That was when they had Machado still.
Now they're going down the rabbit hole of the old Houston Astros of the early 2010s. And then Evan Longoria hits was it a 3-run homer or a grand slam to win the game and clinch their playoff spot? But they did it on the last day, and they got into the playoffs. So that was the last time Tampa was actually worth something to Major League Baseball.
Well, I mean, now they're worth a little more because World Series appearance, finished first again. I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, they just got to win it all at that point.
Yeah, looking at stats here, since 2017, the Rays have finished no worse than third place. Won the division back-to-back years. Wild card team finished third in 2018. They got third 2017, and then they got the wild card in 2019. So they're trending in an upward direction. Being that they're the third lowest payroll compared to teams like the Dodgers, teams like the Yankees. It is impressive. It is impressive to see a guy like Wander Franco come into the league and hit and just play well, and they're kind of a scrappy bunch of guys who understand their reality of nobody thinks of the Tampa Bay Rays as an elite franchise, and yet here they are sitting comfortably in first, already clinched the division, watching the rest of the teams who they'll face fight till the end. And I will say it's impressive, but it's kind of like Ghattas said, the hot streak of a team in a wild card game can carry over. We've seen it before. Just the Nationals in 2019 were losing in the wild card game up until the bottom of the eighth. An error and bases clearing, double by Juan Soto wins the game, and they go on to win the whole thing, and beat the Astros. So this is what I love and hate about this time of year. Obviously, my team is the one, who has to face a team, a wild card team like that. It sucks, and sure enough, we did face the Nationals in 2019 and got ousted, and everyone was kind of looking at each other like, what the hell just happened? But playoffs and sports in general, you just, your regular season stats can only do so much. It's when you show up in the postseason that really matters.
Yeah, I mean, once it's your time, it's your time. Or you believe in like spooky theories and all those people that come into a meeting every once a year and they spin a wheel and it says who's going to win the World Series. Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, I'd like to run that back and see what the video game predictions were and what reality was.
Yes, of course.
Mhm.
Does anybody else like to point out anything that was surprising? I have mine to point out there if there's nothing.
I got one. So
What you got?
Barrero mentioned hot streaks. I think a surprise for me has been the Cardinals I think is it 16 game winning streak now?
Yeah, they are currently on a 16 game. If they win out, it'll be a 22 game winning streak, which is just unheard of.
That's unreal. Yeah, I believe that would tie the longest winning streak in the expansion era, which was set by the 2017 Indians at 22 wins. So I think, which is crazy to think because, I mean, a lot of the National League playoff talk has really been centered around the Dodgers and Giants. But seeing the Cardinals creep up on that second wild card spot has been just as fun to watch. And I think it's crazy that it's going to come down to what likely will be Max Scherzer going up against them in the wild card game. So crazy to think that their 22 game win streak, if they win out, would just be in the balance of, them against Scherzer, which looking at some stats, he is 7-0 with a 1.43 ERA since joining the Dodgers. So that would be a very tall mountain to climb if that does happen to be the case. But I think their winning streak has kind of come as a little bit of a surprise. It's been fun to watch, though.
Would anybody else like to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I get PTSD thinking about the Cardinals and Dodgers facing off in the playoffs again. So it is impressive. Again, just I think that's the best word to describe a lot of this season with these teams. And age is just a number when you look at a guy like Adam Wainwright and a guy like Yadier Molina still on this team. Finding that Cardinal magic this time of year. But having said that, it's the magic's gotta run out at some point. So if it does continue, if they win out, that'll be impressive. And moving forward, I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, a little nervous time this side of town, at least. We'll see what happens.
I mean, I was talking to Jonathan before the show. I always get PTSD from the thinking of just Dodgers and playoffs is never a good combination.
Well, Dodgers and Cardinals especially, names like Matt Carpenter,
Michael Wacha.
Yeah, Michael Wacha, Matt Adams, just the list of just all these guys.
I just have the Stephen A. Smith Wolves meme playing on in my head as I think about those series.
Major PTSD.
Yeah.
I mean, just to really quick before we get more it's a little sidetracked here. I mean, I just think of losing to the Phillies, losing to the Cards, losing to the Braves, losing to the Mets. But yeah, I mean, the playoffs the Dodgers gotta get it together. But another surprising thing for me this season, where was your team, Johnson, the Giants. I mean, you're a Giants guy. There's a reason why I invited you here today, because I want to know, why are the Giants good?
Why they're good? I mean, really, it's they've been leading the league in homers, and just surprisingly enough, just have had a smorgasbord of random guys just hitting home runs. I mean, you have your veterans there. Posey being back, I think, really is kind of a big difference from last season's team.
Yeah.
He didn't play, and I think just having him back, really, at least for the pitching staff, has been the biggest thing, because also the pitching has really kind of been a big surprise. Snagging a guy like Alex Wood, who's been good.
Yeah, he's
Scafellini, Logan Webb's been really good, and Gosman's been amazing. So really, just kind of also kind of moneyballing it with our GM, who was also the Dodgers GM a couple years ago, and the way he's been able to just kind of find guys. But the lineup, it's again having Posey, Crawford, Belt, who unfortunately just fractured his thumb. He'll be out for a while. Those guys have really been key core for them, and then having Longo, trading for Chris Bryant, I think was huge, and getting a bat. But really, it's just they've been lucky to be healthy. Baseball, that's one of those things where if you're healthy for the whole season, you're gonna just overall have a better team. Pitching's been good. And again, they play great at home. On the road, they've been amazing. So it's again, I was waiting for the shoe to drop. I didn't think they would be leading the league in wins, come the end of the season. At best, figured they'd be a 500 team. But I think really the biggest difference is having Posey back, having a guy like him in the locker room and to handle the pitching staff has been, I think, the biggest jump in helping the team get wins. And then just really having random guys like Wade, La Stella, Flores, and these kind of, bench guys throughout their career, get to see some more playing time and have been able to produce. And I think, sometimes you can take advantage of that. And as a team, I think they kind of just got hot early and figured, stay hot. And they managed to. So I think it's just one of those things too. Once you get the ball rolling, they figured, hey, we have a decent team here, so we can kind of keep going. And Gabe Kapler's been a great coach. I mean, to come in and after Boch for that long to fill in has been good. I personally didn't like him last season, but he's kind of grown on me. So, I mean, it's been some luck and some veterans actually playing well, and it's definitely a huge surprise. Yeah, I don't think anybody, if you said Giants are going to be the best team in baseball, I would have said, yeah, fuck off. So,
I mean, like I said, they're the surprise team for me. And I'll tell you, they are the best team by the numbers. You have 13 players hitting over 250, which one of those, which I think you only mentioned his name once, Mr. Brandon Crawford, leads the team 139. His on-base percentage is at I think at 3.376, 88 RBIs. Their hitting has just been consistent. What's his name? Yastrzemski.
Yeah.
He's been 67 RBIs, 23 home runs. I got him down here for that. Yeah, Brandon Belt, that's going to be a big loss. 29 home runs. I think he leads the team. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, kind of similar to Tampa Bay. I mean, not on like a poor level, but like how you mentioned, like they were able to just get all the right pieces. People were coming back into form, I should say, because I haven't heard Buster Posey's name in a hot minute. I'm like, not to be mean, but I'm like, did he just come back from that injury a couple years ago? Like, where's he been? But yeah, I mean, good on him. He's back into form. The pitching, like you said, was named Kevin Gausman. 14 wins. He has an ERA of 2.87, 222 strikeouts. That Jake McGee guy, I think he's been pretty good, 31 saves. So yeah, I mean, overall, they have a good team. So what is it the fuss about?
I think, like you said, just the surprise, and everyone was ready to, have a NLCS of Padres Dodgers, which on paper, if we play the game on paper, then sure.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Then we don't need to play a season, right? But I think just again being able to stay healthy. Baseball, it's about being healthy. At the end of the day, if you're healthy, you're gonna be better than the other team, and they've avoided major injuries, unfortunately, until today with the belt news. But even then, I think they can fill in, and like you said, half of those guys I didn't name, and half those guys get mixed and matched depending on the matchup. So again, it'll be interesting because it looks like it will be against the Dodgers first round, and couldn't ask for better 7-game series, to start the postseason.
I think it's 5, which is even scarier.
All right, division.
There you go. Yeah, it's 5.
So it's gonna be an even more intense. Just not being able to screw around and I'll pitch my best guy in game 3. Well, you may be down 2-0 and then elimination game 3, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to point out my frustration overall.
A disappointment. Oh, thank you for moving on to our next.
Yeah, no, I think. I'll start with this. I think the league really needs to reconsider its seedings when it comes to the playoffs. Having the second best team in baseball, with the Dodgers being 2 games behind the Giants right now, as a wild card team, as a 4 seed, having to it just doesn't make sense why 100 plus win team has to play on the road, moving forward. Like, you're going to get rid of your best two teams after the first round. I don't like it. And I see, I'm looking at the standings, like an 83-72 Atlanta Braves team is going to, possibly host, like if they were to make the NLCS and meet the Dodgers, just because they have the higher seeded number. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it's based on record at that point or if it's where you're seated, but if they're seeding, then the Braves would host the Dodgers for the NLCS. That's just like, it doesn't make sense. So Rob Manfred, stop ruining baseball, fix it. I think the obvious disappointment, and I think we talked about it just recently, is the Padres. And then, I feel for Padres fans. It's just kind of like they're right there. I mean, you gotta be
not that I hate their team, but it's just that all the players were like, and the fans were,
yeah,
the Dodgers and the Dodgers and the Padres have a rivalry now, and all the pundits on whatever sports media is like saying the same thing. I'm like, don't hype this up just because the players say it. Like, it just happened. They just happen to have a good series.
Right. And I just, they have a decent team on paper. They have obviously guys like Tatis, guys like Machado, Cronenworth, in the field. And then you have a rotation that includes Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, Lamet, like all these guys who should be winning 15 games a year, should have their team at the top of the division. And you're sitting at 500 eliminated from the playoffs. It's, yeah, I understand injury. Yeah, I understand. I don't know. I think that was the most shocking, to say the least. And I think the other, another SoCal team, the Angels, same deal. I know they had a little more, in terms of injury with Rendon and Trout, and the whole Trout thing is kind of weird because if he had a calf injury I want to say it was in May. It must have been something more than just a calf, because if he's been out this long and not coming back, like, I don't know. To me, it's wasted talent out there. I would like to see Shohei, keep up his incredible play moving forward. I mean, this season for him was, I was able to catch a game down there once or twice, and he's amazing. He's that once in a lifetime kind of player. So to be able to live through that and see him play was incredible, and I hope he doesn't go to waste. I hope Trout's career doesn't go for waste. Kind of like the Dodgers' little brother, essentially. I don't really hate the Angels, to say the least, but I don't know. You gotta fix whatever's going on down there.
I mean, in regards to like the Angels, like there's not a lot of people going to the games. You're selling tickets at a very low price, and you have probably the best player in the league, which we'll get to later and debate about a little bit. So it's not like, I mean, it's a struggle to get people to get in when you don't win, but it's not like they're not unwatchable. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, they have a solid team. I think pitching has been the dark spot, but they have guys like I said, Trout, Ohtani, Rendon. There's your stars. You've got up and coming guys like David Fletcher and Ward. Talented guys who can crush the ball, can get the base hits, can speed, whatever it is. But until they can figure out, like I think it's their pitching. I think their bullpen and their starters just don't have enough. I don't know what's going to happen, but hopefully, like I said, I don't want to see that talent wasted like they are with Trout, honestly.
And I'm also glad you brought up the Padres. I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in, but for me, like the Padres, they were in first and then out west for a hot second, and it's like, oh, I guess these guys are for reals, and it's just little by little they just went down the drain, and other teams were climbing up the ladder.
As a Dodgers fan, seeing the Padres fall after talking all their mess was just a beautiful thing to see. But having friends who are Padres fans, I understand their frustration of what has gone wrong in San Diego this year. And it's just they weren't able to put it all together after the All-Star break. And it is normal for teams to have slumps after the All-Star break, but nothing to what constituted what happened in San Diego this year. It was just so disappointing to see all of the hype that they brought themselves, and just it never translated on the field after the break.
It's like they turned into the Angels. You have a really good hitter, and then you guys just start to suck.
But see,
Suck really bad.
To me, the Angels and the Padres are on two different levels, because we all know the Angels have the talent to do something special. They've never gotten over the hump, and it's been that way for a long time. And the last time the Angels were actually something was about 6 or 7 years ago. And take Ohtani out of the equation for a second. Same thing with Trout. Trout was only 2+ so years in the league at that point. And like Matt said, if you're just going to waste talent like that, why not try and get into a better situation?
I mean, unlike Tampa Bay, like if Tampa Bay sucked, then okay, well, they sucked. But like, you had all this talent on this Padres team, and you guys still couldn't get it together. Like, there was so much hype around you guys. Really good hitting, and you can't even make it into the playoffs. Like, come on, man. And then just to let everybody know, our listeners, like, they did have a scuffle like about a week or two ago.
I was gonna say, let's look back at that little dust up between Tatis and Machado. And they went on record after the fact saying there's no hard feelings. It's just two competitors going at it with each other.
And just to let everybody know, once again, Tatis struck out. He looked fairly disappointed. It looked like he wanted to yell at the ump, but he just knew he couldn't. And there was a video taken, it was posted on Twitter. Apparently, Tatis was not having it. He was seen smacking his equipment onto the benches, and then at some point when this video was taken, Machado was yelling at him, "Hey, it's not about you. You play baseball, do your job." And Machado was trying to be the leader and calm down Tatis, who was just not having it that night. And the next day they went out to the reporters and just said, "Hey, we're just trying to focus on winning our games. We want to make the playoffs. We're not trying to make this a big deal like how you guys are." I mean, somewhat true. He does make a point, but what was it, like 2-3 days later they were knocked out of playoff contention.
I think a lot of it, I see having gone to games in San Diego, having seen games on TV. A lot of it is very gimmicky. The home run spinner that they have, that's dumb. Slam Diego, like they're just kind of like an attraction for San Diego residents or people who are visiting.
Why does this sound like USC football the last 2 or 3 years?
That's for a different podcast. We'll get into that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll get into that another time.
No, but for me, it's just they got their heads kind of too big, And the other kind of frustrating thing, talking about a former Dodger and Yasiel Puig, you look at a guy like Puig who is no longer in the league. He's playing in the Mexican League, trying to get on a major league team again. But you look at how he was sort of the trailblazer when it came to bat flipping and having energy, and everyone just despised him for it. But then a guy like Tatis shows up, starts doing it, and oh my God, it's the greatest thing we've ever seen. Like let the guys play. Again, it's tough to like comprehend, just everything about their game. Their fans, got their heads too big after a shortened season, and matched with the Dodgers and still got swept out of the first round.
Hey, it was a good series.
It was a great series. Belly's catch in was that game? I want to say game 2 off of Tatis that would have given the Padres the lead. That was a hell of a game. And all their games have been fun since. Even all the games this season, the back and forth and even the sweeps and Mookie's catch like in the first week of the season. They're not even close to what the rivalry is with the Giants. It's like a respect thing with the Giants. Like we've been at this like for years, even back to the Brooklyn and New York days. And the Padres are kind of like the little brother, like, hey, I want to play too. And it's like, well, you're not ready for that yet. You gotta earn your stripes, kind of deal.
Wait your turn.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, and the other thing, what was that one? Those two dudes who made to the tune of California Love, they made a video about the Padres, and again, it's just all gimmicky to me, and they're suffering now.
I mean, like to quickly defend Tatis, like he's, I guess you could say he's playing that hype style of baseball, but he leads. He could back it up, unlike Puig, who was more flash than stat leading.
Yeah,
I can tell you right now, batting average, Tatis, .284, home runs, 41, his on-base percentage, .370, and like,
I agree.
He's good. He's good. It's just the team just couldn't back him up. So
right. No, it's not so much of his talent. Yeah, I get that. Puig had his on and off kind of inconsistency. It's just more of the fact that, all of a sudden with the snap of the fingers, like, oh, nobody cares about bat flipping anymore. Nobody cares of energy and, hyping your team up. To see it kind of, like a guy like Bumgarner and when he in his Giant days yelling at Puig and trying to fight Puig and pitchers throwing at Puig's head for his reactions. Just like you look at it now and it's like that's not even a thing. Like that's part of baseball now. I will say, to close out the most disappointing of the year by far, Trevor Bauer's situation completely just, I don't know. There's a lot to unfold there.
I would say it's a touchy subject, but it's kind of an odd subject now. Okay, it's kind of like disappeared in a way. Like it happened so long ago.
Yeah, they've just sort of, okay, we're gonna keep putting you on extended leave, and I don't know if he ever pitches in baseball again.
He won't, with the way our, I don't want to put like just the way things have been, right? Anything related with domestic abuse is hot, and no team's gonna want to touch you. Baseball knows, especially, and we don't need to get into details, but if anything of what he did is true, that's just a bit too hard for a team to be like, oh yeah, he did all this crazy shit, but let's have him pitch still. We're okay having him in our locker room. And it's kind of like football and NBA. Anytime a guy gets these domestic things, no team wants to touch him. And it does suck because Bauer's a great kid and he's a local kid. But unfortunately, just like Deshaun Watson, I mean, in football, he's not going to play at all this season, even though nothing has been technically gone to court or, these are just allegations and stuff. But, the victims are always going to be given benefit of doubt because technically it's on now the defendant to prove they're not guilty. So, unfortunately, I agree that was a shitty situation for Bauer. And, Dodgers were quick to mend it by getting Scherzer, but that did suck. But unfortunately, in the, just the world we're living in, anything that's related to that, it's going to be hard for anybody to come back from that. And it does suck because Bauer's a young kid and, the Dodgers just signed him. What was that? The huge deal, right? It was like the most ever. So we'll see, but yeah, I don't think the kid will see a field again, even next season. It's going to be hard just with the way things are, especially like if Houston in football can bench their star quarterback for a whole season. I don't see how baseball can be like, oh yeah, let's let this kid come back. I mean, Puig had similar situation. That's also why he's not in the league, more so than his
play on the field just tanked.
His play, yeah, he had allegations against him too, and teams just don't want to deal with that.
Too much baggage.
Yeah. So again, Bauer is good. Sorry, it's where he could probably pitch again, but
no, yeah. It has to be a team that would be desperate. I mean, it would take some marketing, like, oh, we're gonna
desperate, or it comes out that it's not true, right? Or something where he can clear his name up and be like, hey, this wasn't what it was, right? What it seemed, but it's hard, right? Because apparently it's gone to the DA. So I don't know. It's crappy all around.
Yeah.
Morally speaking, it's just not a good look on any team. And of course that makes you consider, if Bauer's situation is not even, talked about, or even, it didn't actually happen or whatever it is, do the Dodgers go after a guy like Scherzer? Do the Dodgers work a deal where they get Scherzer and Trey Turner? It's just all these different pieces that, could change a season, could, be the difference in the season. But the reality is, he's not in the league. We haven't heard from him. And, the Dodgers got a guy, a veteran in Scherzer, and a talented young, player with Trey Turner. It's just, it's been, to say the least, his situation has, kind of made the Dodgers.
It worked out.
It worked out.
Like,
it made them better,
right?
In a crazy way.
Yeah, I mean, you look at and Bauer too. Bauer having his own little YouTube channel. He's got his, little GoPro. Everywhere he goes, he's trying to promote himself, promote his brand. He's an outspoken kind of guy.
Yeah, he's a character.
That can have a toll on a dugout. Not much like Puig's situation. I know a lot of guys, in stories I read, they didn't like having Puig around just because of his attitude. And again, you talk about the psyche of a team and just, how they perform and different things. And yeah, it makes a difference. But I mean,
the Dodgers never hurt. They basically never hurt when he left. So
no, exactly. If anything, they've improved. And
yeah,
you get a speedy guy like Turner to match Mookie, and Dodgers have been very, I'd say, quiet when it comes to stealing bases in the past few seasons. And now you got two guys who can, really set the table, and it could again lead to, game deciding, season deciding situations, and it all worked out. But yeah, that's my biggest disappointment being a Dodgers fan, of course.
Yeah, I mean, how do I explain this? It was just odd because I'm like, dang, like we're gonna lose a pitcher, and then the team is fine. Like it was like a scratch, nothing but a flesh wound.
Right. Well, even when they signed Bauer, in the offseason, it was kind of, I know a lot of Dodger fans who were like, really, this guy? And he pitched well, obviously. And
he's amazing.
He's been, he won Cy Young last year, and he's that kind of talent where you want to have him on your team. You love that he's on your team. At the same time, as a fan, you kind of have to separate politics from the sport itself. There could be a lot of disappointment if you find out the political views of a lot of these players. So you kind of put your head down, you enjoy the games, and focus on what's in front of you during the season, of course. And then obviously, if I mean, a guy like Blake Trinan is pitching great as a reliever. He's an outgoing Trump supporter, if I've heard correctly. So it's like, all right, like for me, I'm not a Trump supporter, but all right, Blake Trinan, your slider's nasty. Get the job done. So we could dive into that in a completely different.
Just listen to Manny Machado. You play baseball.
Exactly.
Come on, it's not about you. And then lose the next game that you weren't supposed to lose.
Exactly.
But anyways, is there anything else that people would like to point out in regards to the season? Good, bad? It could be about the team, about the player.
I guess just real quick to just point out how awful San Diego was. I remember seeing, and like Daniel talked about it, the first half, they were, I believe it was 35-19. And then they went on to go ahead and be 15-40 the next 55. So that just shows how that's just falling off a cliff completely, and just really, again, personally, why I love baseball in the sense of when you get 162, you're going to get the true sense of a team. That's why, again, the 60 to me is completely different, because you can keep everyone fresh. And it showed San Diego. And let's not, like, why did we think San Diego is going to do anything? Like, they've been trash for decades. Why, I get it. We added a couple players, and Tatis is nice, but to me, it's not shocking, because it's the same old Padres.
San Diego going to San Diego.
Yeah, they're going to San Diego, and that's it. It's not, yes, last year was a nice little, treat for them to finally say they made the postseason, but it's when you play 162, it's the same thing with the Rockies and the D-backs. Literally, it's the same thing with the division every year. It's Padres, Giants, Dodgers, D-backs, Rockies always going to be trash, and then one of the other two teams will compete with the Dodgers.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's so it's just not surprising, really. But that was a little stat that they just fell off a cliff completely. And yeah, I mean, Blake Snell has been awful, and really pitching. They just really haven't had that consistency that the division. It's proven that Dodgers have great pitching, Giants have good pitching. Especially in that division, you need to have good pitching when you go on the road to Colorado, Arizona. I mean, we could hit some home runs there, the five of us. So you need to have the bullpens, and they just don't. And honestly, too, manager got to go. I think his leash has been a little too long there. Now for a couple years.
Okay, thank you for that insight right there. We can move on to this really quick. So we said the good, the bad, the ugly of the season. Before I highlight who's in the playoffs currently at the moment of this recording, can you guys tell me who do you think was the best team throughout all the MLB, and give me one reason why? And now everybody go first. Who wants to go first? If not, I'm gonna pick. And I pick Jeremy. Go.
As a Dodgers fan, it's going to pain me to say this, but I really think the Giants are probably the best team in baseball right now. I think they're well balanced. I think I'm going back to, one of the surprises of the season. I don't think anybody saw them being this good. A lot of people thought this was going to be more of a rebuilding year, and they weren't going to be as competitive in that NL West. But I definitely consider them, the way they've played, as consistent as they played, as hot as they've been, just consistently finding ways to win, even if it means coming back from being 4 down in the ninth inning, they still find a way to win it, and those are the teams that make it very far in the postseason. And that's the reason why Ghattas says a full 162 games is extremely important when you want to find a team's identity. And the Giants have a very distinct identity, and they're ready now. They're not in a win later mode. They discovered their win now mode, and they activated it. And it's why they're on top of the NL West right at this second. So to me, I have to give them the best team title out of respect.
Okay. Who would like to follow up, or I will pick?
I guess if for best team, sure, I will say I'll go a different route and just say best team to me from what we thought they would be was Toronto. Even though they're kind of on the hinge, that offense and that lineup is just scary good. Vladdy Jr. is amazing, Bo Bichette, and really just the rest of that lineup is amazing. And then Robbie Ray, most likely going to win AL Cy Young, has been just really a revelation there. So I think Toronto, just with the talent they have, they're kind of, I think, a year ahead, and really they could sneak in too. And I think that offense is really scary. But to see them, possibly going to win 90 plus games, I think to me was something, Toronto's same thing. You don't really consider Toronto to be a team that you're really going to be worried about come postseason. And, they've been sticking around all year and can possibly sneak in there. And again, I think that offense and Vladdy, that's somebody right now you don't want to face, in the batter's box for sure.
Once again, like I always say on our shows, correct me if I'm wrong, the Blue Jays have not been relevant since Batista started to suck. So,
right.
Or at least when he got smacked. At least when he got smacked in the face in that one fight. Basically, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Trying to run up to second base, got knocked out.
Roofing it a door with a nice right hook onto the jaw.
And don't disrespect my boy Rougned Odor.
He was never the same after that hit.
He was America's hero that day.
Yeah, definitely.
One good lick, and that was the end of his career. But yeah,
and also, real quick.
No, what you got?
To touch up the fact that they haven't played at home half of this season, I think also is a big thing. They were playing away because they couldn't play in Toronto.
Yeah, they were in Florida. Yeah.
So I think that too, to put that together too, I think is amazing. So I think, overall Toronto's just been probably the best team to me, just what we would consider start of the year.
Oh, yeah. Matt, who's your standout team in the regular season?
Yeah,
Doesn't have to be your pick to win it all.
No, it's no. I think consistency wise, yeah. You look at the Giants. They find ways to win. I think one team that a lot of the season has been kind of under the radar is Milwaukee. To be quite honest, Milwaukee has a very good team. Offensively, and their pitching staff has just been consistent. I wouldn't say they're the best team. I think the best teams are the Dodgers and the Giants. They just they find ways to win. But I will say an under the radar team that could make some noise in the playoffs is Milwaukee. Yes, they are the Central Division champs. But it's kind of like one of those teams where, I mean, I haven't heard of their season, what's going on. I feel like, I haven't seen a lot of games nationally televised, whatever it is. But they're finding ways to win. And, that's why they're 7 games above, the Cardinals. And the only reason they're 7 games is because the Cardinals have won 16 in a row. But you look at, a guy like Josh Hader, who's a Cy Young candidate, being their closer. The guy's just lights out. He just revs up and throws, and he knows he's going to strike you out. Dodger fans know him from 2018 in the NLCS, and this is a team that the Dodgers beat 2 out of 3 games in last year's wild card. The way they had it set up with the shortened season. There were a few injuries Milwaukee had, but I don't know. They've been consistent season in, season out over the last several years. So yeah, I wouldn't say they're the best, but a
notable team going into the playoffs.
Notable, yeah, I would say so.
I mean, considering I was looking at Mario, who's good on this team, and Yelich, I'm surprised, nowhere to be found. I was like, yo, where you at?
Yeah, he's been hurt for a good chunk of the season, and right. I would agree with Matt though to say they've been consistent, and even considering the fact that Yelich has been out, you have guys like Kane, and honestly I couldn't even name other Brewers. It's just been the pitching. I
think Colton Wong he was a free agent signing, second baseman, played for the Cardinals. I remember him.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they have a talented team, and they've been kind of consistent when it comes to getting the necessary hits. And that's one thing the Giants have been really good at this season too, is they're not trying to smack the ball. Yeah, they lead the league in in homers or whatever it is, but they just find ways to not die in the last inning. They find ways to get on base with 2 outs. They find ways to get the ball up the middle, whether it's a hard liner or a little squeaker. So yeah, and that's what it takes to win ball games. You're not going to rely on your heavy hitting, and your pitching is going to have days where we need the offense to pick us up here. Small ball is what's going to be the difference in the game. If you have the shift on you and third base side is wide open, bunt the ball, work on it in pregame, whatever it is. Find ways to get on base, and I think the Giants for sure, and I think the Brewers have done that for sure.
Yeah, when I was looking up info on the Brewers, they don't lead a lot of stats, but they're in the top 5 for most of them in the NL. I got them down 3rd in the NL, 94 pitch wins, 4th in the MLB, 2nd in ERA, 3.29, 3rd in the MLB. They're in the NL, they're 4th in saves, 44, 5th in stolen bases in the NL with 77. And the one thing that they do lead all outright, 1st in strikeouts, 1,578. They got 2 pitchers in the NL top 5 within the ERA. Second, Corbin Burns, 2.79, 29. 3rd is Brandon Woodruff, 2.52. Saves, they got Josh Hader with 34. And in the strikeout category, Burns I believe he has 230, 70. Oh, man, I can't even remember right now. He's in third in NL, and he's fifth in the MLB. So, like, baseball is all about consistency, but they've probably been the most consistent considering they're like in that middle ground.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
And their pitching has been, again, like Matt said, Hader, again, their bullpen is great. That you can, once you get to the seventh inning, the game's kind of over. Especially they stretch Hader a lot sometimes, right, to get 6 outs. I mean, so again, I think the pitching for them has been consistent. They're really good at home. And again, they'll be facing the Braves most likely unless Philly can catch up there at the end. And again, I think that'll be a good series. But the Brewers, yeah, I would agree. One of those teams not talked about, but now a couple years in a row, I even remember them playing in the play-in game with the Dodgers, right, pre-pandemic. So I mean, they've made the postseason and have been consistent. But same thing, kind of one of those teams that we just are waiting to break through and just kind of don't. So I hope it doesn't change this postseason, but again, one of those teams that they're consistent, their pitching's great, but again, do we fear them offensively is kind of where maybe they just aren't going to be a big threat like the Dodgers or Giants.
I would say on top of that, just you look at all of these teams, both American and National League. I think this is the most the closest, like there is no front runner here. There is no Dodgers of last year. There is no Red Sox of 2018. Like this season in itself has been the most consistently like close season. I think any team who gets into the playoffs has a shot. And that's what makes, this time of year so great. Because, for those who are just baseball fans who maybe necessarily don't have a team, this is going to be fun because you want, that dark horse team to come out of nowhere, literally come out of left field and, make a run and kind of shock the baseball world. I think when just looking at the standings here, I think any team has a legitimate chance. I don't really see that one team that can just dominate through and they're going to win it all. This will be fun.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Corbin, all right, it's not Burns. I think it's Burness. He has an ERA of 2.29.
Corbin Burns. You had it right.
Oh, was that with that ES Burnett? Are you sure?
Yeah. Burns minus. Yeah, you just don't pronounce the E.
Interesting.
Yeah,
but
silent E, Robert. Silent E.
Hey man, if you guys go listen back to Bulletin Sports Report at Cal State Dominguez Hills, me and Jeremy were always messing up the names. So I guess that trend has never left me, unfortunately.
Yeah, man, some things just don't change with you.
Yeah, I guess so. Just to point out, batting for the Brewers, leading for them, batting average is how do you say his name? Garcia? Is it Alex Garcia?
Acival Garcia.
Avisail
Garcia.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. I just saw
Good
the
team.
A
Good
initial.
teamwork.
They weren't showing up. He's averaging 2.66. He has 29 home runs, 85 RBIs, and has an OPS, on base. OPS of .831. Sorry, my voice is getting dry now. If you guys can't notice, usually happens throughout the show, but it's alright.
That's why you always carry a bottle of water with you.
I do. I'm already almost done with this one, and I got about to drink another water bottle right now.
There you go.
I already see Ghattas is getting turned up.
Hey man, the Henny.
But yeah, let's move on with our show now. And I know it's running a little late here when we're recording. We don't want to record for too long, like as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, unless you guys want to do a 4-hour show. Nah, just kidding.
This is this is not the Ramblin' Runoff. This is ESPN Radio.
Oh my gosh, when they
After
have
dark.
random commercials for no reason, and I'm like, bro.
Look, I can put commercials up on the deck right now. We can do it. We just won't get any advertising dollars out of it.
We are not a sponsored show. We do not have any commercials on here, unfortunately. Not yet. So we're working on it.
If you're listening and would like to sponsor the show, give us a call.
Well,
I don't know
actually,
whose
hit me
number.
up on Twitter at
There you go.
offrambling for rambling runoff. Or if you want to hit up Robert, myself, go at Robert RRY on Twitter. Thank you very much.
There's
But
the plug.
next segment we got best of the best. We're gonna look at best pitchers, batters. Who's gonna win Cy Young? I guess we could toss out any Golden Glove winners, NL MVP, AL MVP. I know it's a lot, so let's try to condense it down to your guy and give us the reason why he's your guy. So, who would like to go first? If not, I will pick.
You should get a wheel and just spin it for the next shows, and then whatever it lands on.
Look like Jeremy was ready.
Jonathan,
Yeah.
you know you're pointing, but
give
you're
me
pointing on
this one.
Zoom. Okay, yeah, I was gonna pick you. I'm just like, Jonathan, you know you're pointing, but it might be a different person on your screen.
Like on my screen, everyone's stacked on top of each other, so he's just pointing at like my Word document.
I'm like, it was gonna be Matt, and at some point it turned into Jeremy. But yes,
I'll go. That's fine.
Oh no, Daniel has his. I know. I was gonna pick you because you were
Oh,
quiet.
Daniel did the student. I got you.
I
Okay.
raised
Yeah,
my
he raised
hand.
his
He was
hand.
quiet.
Raise the
He was
hand,
quiet
bro.
this whole damn time. I'm
All
like,
right.
dude,
Yeah, let's
He's
get Daniel.
waiting.
Yeah.
He's waiting.
talk,
Daniel
Daniel.
Tom, let's use that voice of yours.
You know, I'm just trying to be responsible and raise my hand. Do you want me to start anywhere, Robert, or do you have a certain spot you want me to start?
Pick anywhere. Just make it quick and concise and understandable for our listeners, please.
You know what? I'm gonna give you my Cy Young predictions. I really do think for the American League, Robbie Ray from Toronto has this one kind of locked up. And don't get me wrong, there's a bunch of competition that's just as great. Give me Garrett Cole, Liam Hendricks. I've seen a lot more consistency in Robbie Ray this season. I actually saw him pitch in Anaheim when they went to go play the Angels. And it's not that none of these other guys are good. It's the consistency you see from these pitchers. And I'm looking at his stats right now. He's started 31 games with 188 innings pitched, struck out 244 batters, and has only given up 56 earned runs the entire year, which is mightily impressive with an ERA under 3. So, I mean, that says a lot about what you're doing this year on the mound, meaning you're carrying the load for your rotation. National League, it's a little easier for me because my top 2 for the National League happen to both play on the same team, just one's happening to have a better year. I'm going to give the nod to Julio Urias. No offense to Scherzer, but I've just...
Dude, you're wild.
You know, I've seen a lot of progression in Julio this year that I haven't seen in the last couple of years.
That is also true.
And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm thinking about what the voters have to think about when they vote on these things. You don't just look at a big name. You look at what have they done not only this year, but look at maybe years past. And if you look at a years past, you think Scherzer's the name. Scherzer has the brand. Scherzer has the numbers. It's just because Scherzer is a name doesn't mean I think someone else doesn't deserve the chance to win the award. And I think Urias has proven to me, both with his production and with everyone he's gone up against this year, he should be the guy to win the Cy Young for the National League.
Just to let everybody know, Julio Urias has 19 wins in the NL, and Walker Buehler, he is 5th in the NL with 14 wins. And Mr. Scherzer, because we mentioned him, he has an ERA of 2.28. What are you going to do with that? Come on, man. And he has a lot of strikeouts. That's all you got to know.
A lot.
Who would like to go next? I mean, you don't have to. I mean, you can say whichever. You can point out whichever one you want. Your best pitcher, your best batter, your Cy Young winner, NL, your MVP. Pick one.
I'll go next. So we're gonna talk the AL MVP race for a quick second, and I think I'd like to think that the gentleman on here can kind of agree with me. This is like a 2-horse race. Got to be between Vladdy Guerrero Jr. and Shohei Ohtani. I think those are the only 2 players who could be considered for this award. Personally, I'd pick Ohtani over Vladdy. I'm nothing against Vladdy. He's had such a phenomenal season. But I do think that Ohtani's performance on the mound and in the batter's box being above average, I would say way more than above average in both categories, is kind of what sets him apart. I mean, you look at his performance on the mound, he's got a 3.28 ERA over 123 innings. And you look at his performance in the batter's box, he's got 45 homers, which he's almost going to take the lead. He's only one off from the MLB lead. 45 homers, 24 stolen bases in 35 attempts, and he's got a 953 OPS. I mean, that's the numbers to me speak for themselves. I think Ohtani's going to take the AL MVP, and I don't think it's as easy to kind of point out an NL MVP. There's a lot more players over there who are pretty hard to kind of just pick one from, but I think AL MVP, I'm going to go with Ohtani.
I mean, yeah, I could back you up too on that. Like, Ohtani's just been lights out. So I feel like, yeah, he's my pick too for the AL MVP, because who else is... Who was your second guy?
Vlad.
That was Vlad, yeah, Vladdy Guerrero Jr.
Yeah,
I mean, that is tough. That's a hard split.
He was close to, he won't get it, but he was still like in the Triple Crown race, which would have obviously made it a little hard to look past. But just like Jeremy said, I mean, we're never going to see 45, 25 bags, 10 plus wins, 150 plus strikeouts from a pitcher slash batter or DH slash pitcher. I mean, you're just not going to see that. And again, you know, Ohtani's been able to stay consistent. You know, I kind of thought the home run derby might kind of throw him off and kind of put him in a slump. And no, he hit another at least dozen bombs right the second half and almost will get 100 ribeyes. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, Vlad's had a great season, and again, like I mentioned Toronto earlier, but unless he, you know, hit 50 and had the Triple Crown, it's kind of hard to see anyone voting for anyone else besides Showtime. I mean, I feel like if any writer doesn't vote for him, they should just not be allowed to vote next year, because there's no way you'd go in for anyone besides Ohtani for MVP in this particular season. You know, I mean, if Vladdy was pitching, then sure, but or again, he would have had to hit 60 bombs. I mean, to really, you know, make it that impressive. Does it hurt him that the Angels are garbage? Sure, but thankfully we don't do MVP off, you know, the team's performance, because Tatis most likely would get NL, right? Because of his numbers, but the Padres are trash. So no, I agree with Jeremy. I think Showtime, I mean, hands down is your MVP. I think in the league, if we did the league MVP, he's just your MVP.
I mean, you can say that too right now if you want. I mean, he's the league MVP.
He has to be. I mean, he's literally the only player I can remember wanting to like turn on the TV and like watch their ABs or watch him pitch, you know, or anything like that. Like since maybe like Kershaw Lincecum matchups back, you know, in the day. I mean, there's just not really someone you want to turn the TV on for. And I mean, he's one of those players.
Did you just bring up big time Tim Lincecum?
Big time Timmy John, man.
Damn, I haven't heard his name in a hot minute.
I wonder what poor Tim Lincecum's doing nowadays.
Yeah, I know, right? But yes,
he's acting as Loki on Disney Plus with a wig.
Bruh, he just went there. But yeah, I mean, to point out, I mean, yeah, like Ohtani should probably win overall MVP, not just because he's playing two ways, but he's actually good. Like, imagine if he was playing like shit. Like, it would be like, all right, well, okay, he was good on one side, but he was bad on the other side. No, he plays decent, plays good. There you go. I mean, well, how much more do you want? So, like how you say, I mean, strong words coming out of your mouth, Johnson. If they don't vote for him, they shouldn't vote for no more.
I mean, use your eyes though, right? I mean, that's I can understand voting for Vladdy, but it's just this is generational talent.
It is Vladdy though. Come on.
No, it is. But again, overall, you know, like you said, it's not just him being decent. You know, he's excellent. I mean, he's been excellent. Was able to put together 20 plus starts, which I thought was huge. You know, on that side of the ball. So no, I think it's hard to say anyone else deserves MVP other than him. Because even in the NL, no one's been great. I know.
no, no one can even touch him in the NL. What Vladdy 46 home runs, .315 batting average. They're neck and neck, but Ohtani has that joker pitching, so you might as well. I mean, what would be the point? Like, all right, you did all this work. I mean, I'm not big on awards myself, but these guys get paid to play a sport, so it's like you might as well, like just give it to them, But yeah. Is there anything anybody else people would like to point out? Like, was there a bad pitcher, a good pitcher? Did anybody realize anything else out of these individual players?
Well, I guess just to touch up on Daniel about his, saying Julio should win it. The only reason voters won't look at him, if you look at his full body, he didn't pitch 200 innings, which is something just writers like to look at, just having a pitcher pitch 200 plus and having a full season. And he didn't have a lot of quality starts, which again is a silly kind of stat that we make up to try to say, okay, a pitcher pitching well, because you can clearly see the development. But I think, when you put the full body of work, it's going to be hard to vote against guys like Max or Burns or Woodruff, who have put together 200 plus innings, right? Have the ERA where it's at, and the strikeouts, and again, similar amount of wins. I mean, he's won. I don't think we've had a 20-win pitcher in a while now. But it's when you look at the full body, I think that's why he won't get the Cy Young, just because he's going to fall short on some categories where other pitchers kind of just dominated him.
I mean, like Scherzer, yeah, him and Rios, they go neck and neck, but I feel like I would give the edge to Scherzer just based off the quality of play of his pitching. Because there's games where he would just get.
He goes 8.
He wouldn't
innings,
get outs.
bro.
Yeah, he wouldn't get outs. He would get strikeouts.
Right.
So it's like, all right, he could do it individually. I mean, that's why this is an individual award here, That's why we have the Cy Young. I mean, Urias is good. What did I say? 19 wins. All right, wins are cool, but when you're Scherzer and you could do it all by yourself, I feel like that's more impressive. Jeremy, I can't tell if you're nodding your head or shaking, or do you agree?
I'm in agreement with you, Robert. I mean, we've seen Scherzer pitch immaculate innings, multiple times this season, if I'm not mistaken. There's not many people on the planet who can do that. So when you want to talk about a most valuable player, someone who means a lot to a team, it's easy to point out Scherzer for the Dodgers just based on what he brings in his pitching arsenal to any starting game that he's in. So to me, if I had to pick Cy Young, I'd give an edge to Scherzer over Urias. But I do agree with Daniel's point where his growth this season has been exceptional compared to seasons past. This is the season where he really matured and he's developed as a very good quality player for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I totally agree. Another guy I'd like to point out in the NL, excuse me if I pronounce his name wrong. He plays for the Braves, Mr. Ronald Acuna. Is he still relevant?
Boy, Robert, but you could say he's relevant, but when he got hurt, it killed his chances.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help that every damn team is throwing at his head. Bruh.
Bring back Jose Urena. First pitch of the ball game, right into the elbow.
Or who was the guy from the Mets commentary team that was yeah. Oh, Jose Canseco. He said, yeah, when the guy's hot, what do? Ding him. Bruh, that old school baseball style. I guess. I mean, if you're trying to hurt it doesn't make no. I mean, yeah, it's the old school way, but it doesn't make sense to. All right, it makes sense to hit the guy. I mean, it even sounds weird from when I say it, but it doesn't make sense to hurt the guy, which kills the game. Because all right, well, you just took him out. There's a reason why the NFL and the NBA are like more strict on rules because like you're hurting the player, you're killing their team. It's like, but that's not the point of the game. Like when you explain basketball, all right, basketball, you make sure you don't make it in, but no one ever said to like cream a guy. So same thing with baseball. Like it gets a little tricky because you have a wild pitch, you might hit the guy, but these guys are doing it on purpose. So I feel like Acuna could probably have a better season if like he wasn't getting hit every like 3 games. I mean, he hasn't been hit in a while to my knowledge, but I have noticed that teams just gun for him when he gets hot. So I don't know what can you guys say about him real quick?
About Acuna, you said?
Sí, por favor.
Well, I mean, he's a world class kind of player too. I mean, obviously, leads the Braves offensively season in, season out. I mean, his injury it sucks. The hit by pitches, I don't know too much. I saw what happened, and I mean, it's kind of the thing. I don't know. I'm trying to remember how his stance is. If he's kind of the guy that stands on the plate, and I don't know. Again,
I don't think so. No.
Nah, I don't know. Yeah. Again, this could be just a carryover of just a guy who's fired up, and players are still out there who don't like it, and they'll do something about it. But and the fact that the Braves are still contending, for the AL East. Honestly, the AL East, I think the AL East and the AL Central are just the 2 worst divisions in baseball. It's not even comparable, competition wise, and like every team in the AL Central is below 500, minus the White Sox, who clinched.
I mean, that was a shocker too, honestly.
Yeah, I mean the fact that
somehow we failed to mention that the White Sox are good.
No, and you know what? If we want to get into it, I have the White Sox as my AL team in the World Series. If we want to jump into that right now,
whoa, we're not there yet, buddy. We're not there yet.
I'll wait my turn.
But I mean, if we're done pointing out our best players of the season, just very quickly though, we're gonna move on to our third section here. Like who's going to play well in the playoffs? Like, what do you guys expect? Once again, the playoffs start October 5th. They run on through November, the end of November. I believe November 2nd, November 3rd, if anybody can correct me on that. That's if necessary. The World Series is scheduled to begin on October 26th, pass on through Halloween, then the beginning of November. So if
there is a World Series Game 7, sorry to cut you off, the latest it would go is Wednesday, November 3rd. Correct.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. And if the playoffs began today, as of the recording, September 27th, we would have in the NL first, the Giants finishing number 1, the Brewers going in number 2. They would face the Atlanta Braves right now. There are some teams still in the chase. And then the wild card, we'd have the Dodgers at 4 and the Cardinals at 5. The Dodgers are already clinched. Off the top of my head, because I'm looking at a map of what the playoffs would look like right now. The Dodgers would face the Cardinals. Who is right behind them currently? I know I have this down somewhere on our notes.
It's no one's going to catch the Cardinals. I'll just stop you right now.
You don't think so?
No. With how much of a stretch they've been on, there's no chance. Being that there's 6 games left, and the Reds are second with they are 5.5 games out of the wild card. It would take an astronomical collapse of the Cardinals and a phenomenal last week for the Reds or the Phillies.
Yeah, I was about to say the Phillies are in the
Phillies. I would say the Phillies are chasing the the NL East more than the wild card.
I mean, do you think the Phillies are going to catch up to the Braves? Because that would probably be their number 1 ticket.
I think it'll come down to the last day. I think.
Yeah, that's a coin flip.
Yeah, They're 2.5 out now. Schedule wise, let me see. Trying to see what they got here.
I will say that Bryce Harper, I think, is a front runner for the NL MVP, and I think he's single-handedly carrying the Phillies. Or he's trying to carry the Phillies.
He's trying to. I was about to say, I'm like, yeah, I haven't heard nothing from the Phillies for a while ever since they signed him. So, I mean, that's why I wanted to ask you, Matt. Like, if the Phillies aren't going to catch up to the Cards, like, are they going to catch up to the Braves? But the Braves, like I mentioned, are a decent team.
Yeah,
so,
no, both teams are good, and this is what I love about this time of year, because you just never know in April what the scheduling will be like, and obviously what's going to happen. We have ourselves a 3-game series, Phillies at Atlanta, starting as of this podcast tomorrow, so September 28th through the 30th. That in itself, might have to find a way to stream and tune in, because that's going to be a hell of a series. The fact that the Phillies are, again, 2.5 out. Braves are trying to hold on to that wild card. I'm sorry, the NL East. There we go. Got it out. Nobody's catching the Cardinals. Like I said, it would take an absolute collapse on the Cardinals' part to lose that second position. So it's going to come down to that NL West, and it's going to come down to that NL East. I say the Brewers they're good. They clinch the division. They're going to be at 2. Cardinals are going to be that second wild card at 5. And then it's just determining who's going to take the NL East, the NL West, and that final wild card spot.
So you think it's just going to stay the same? The Braves and the Cards are going to stay in there?
You think so?
I think so. I mean, I don't think the Phillies are going to make it. I don't think so.
All right.
But
that's why we're doing this. Yeah.
And the AL, if the playoffs were to start today, we'd have Tampa Bay at 1, of course. Then at number 2, we would have the Astros facing off against the White Sox at number 3. And then in the wild card, which they're already playing each other, which is more weird, we would have the Sox against the Yanks at 4 and the 5 in the wild card. Do you guys think it will stay like that? We got 5 spots available between the AL and the NL. So is it going to stay like that in the AL? Jonathan, you're saying no, I think.
I mean, looking at the schedule, right? I mean, most likely the wild card, one team might flip, and Toronto could slide in there, because division-wise, everything's locked up. Right now, Seattle's losing, so that would kind of eliminate them. So I mean, I think Toronto could sneak in there. The only thing I would have to see is if they face the Yankees or the Red Sox.
Yeah, they do. The Blue Jays are actually hosting the Yankees for a 3-game series, starting Wednesday, Thursday. I'm sorry, tomorrow. Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah.
So that right there, right? The series winner of that could most likely secure a postseason spot, because if the Yankees, for example, win 2 out of 3, that'll give them a game up, and if Toronto can win 2 out of 3, that will tie them, right? So I mean, I think that'll be a big series. But I could see that flip-flopping. I do think Boston's gonna probably find a way to host that game, just with their schedule. Again, same thing, unless they end up having to play. I mean, they play the Orioles for 3, so that should kind of get them in.
Red Sox are at Orioles for 3, and then at Nationals to close out the season. So favorable schedule. Most likely, you should, if you're a playoff team, you should sweep and finish on a 6-game winning streak, hosting a wild card game. Blue Jays obviously play the Yankees, but then they host the Orioles, where the Yankees will have to face the Rays at home for their final series. So, the Rays have already clinched, sure, but they might be still, starting their studs and knocking the Yankees out, playing spoiler. So it's exciting. It's exciting times, boys.
So are we all agreeing that the Mariners and Athletics are out? That's it.
Yeah, it's an
Get them
AL East. Yeah.
Kick them out the door. That's
I don't
it.
see them.
They would both have to win out, and they're playing each other right now. So
no.
that kind
Hey, yo,
of kills
so basically go kick rocks.
Yeah, exactly. You're kind of playing these last 6 games just to to wait for the spring. But no, yeah, I think
Damn.
that the Toronto Yankees series actually is huge tomorrow. That's probably the biggest one with implications, right? For that, who ends up basically from those three teams, who's going to host the game is
Mhm.
kind of what it's looking like, right? So
Yeah.
My money's on it'll come down to the final day for a lot of a lot of scenarios here.
I mean, I hope not, because then our show would be irrelevant almost.
Well, no, we can talk about that. That's why we talk about.
That's why I keep saying at the time of this recording, this is what's happening, and this is what our opinions are. But
Right.
I think, are we ready to go into the final segment? I mean, do you guys think anybody will? I mean, we already kind of went through who's going to crash out. Will the division rounds be a little difficult? I mean, Matt, I know you've already expressed that you hope the Dodgers, don't, I guess, in my words, choke, and we go back and being sad again.
Right. I mean, that's just, it's rare to obviously go back to back. I think that team knows what they have in front of them. I think the fans understand, what's in front of them. Obviously, I think winning last year, given the circumstances, not being able to host any games, I'm telling you, if the season was normal last year, or if, for whatever reason they were able to do, home games in front of fans, LA would have blown up, to be honest. So I know the city of LA is hungry, just obviously for they didn't get a parade for this one, so we want a parade for this next one. I know the players want the parade. I know the players want to celebrate on their home field. It's going to be different. Obviously, home field advantage plays a big part. So, like I said, tight race this final week, and we'll see what happens. You just never know once you make it into the final rounds here.
Mm-hmm. And Jeremy, in regards to the playoffs for AL or NL, what can you point out about the playoffs? Like, who's going to struggle? Who's going to win?
I think it really the nervousness comes in for the Dodgers because, I'm saying the Dodgers because I'm really going to give the NL West title to the Giants. I think there's too much ground to make up, and I think the way the Giants have consistently been winning, I don't think the Dodgers will catch up to them. So I'm going to just go ahead and pencil them in to the wild card game. But because they have to face a red hot Cardinals team, and like we were talking about earlier in the show, it's nerve-wracking to think of what the Cardinals have done to the Dodgers in the past. And you can't help but think in the back of your head, I'm sure most Dodger fans can think about, what the Cardinals have done in the past to the Dodgers in the playoffs. And it's a little bit of a worry, especially because we really have to depend on just one game. It's the Dodgers are built for series matchups against any other National League division winners. Like, we have the rotation to keep up with anybody. We have all the star power in our lineup, all the big bats in our lineup to go up against anybody. But if we have to play a one-off game, that's a lot riding on just one single game, on just 9 innings alone, maybe extra if that happens to be the case. But if the Dodgers can't pull that out, and if they can't brush away the Cardinals, I mean, there's going to be big question marks as to what happened and where it went wrong. In the AL, I really think I know the White Sox were in a bit of a slump just recently. It wasn't until got to get my words out.
Is
right.
it just because their group of teams are just bad? The division is just bad. They just luckily got in there. I
mean, the White Sox were performing pretty well. It's nothing to take away from them, and they ended up being crowned as the division winners over there. But
89-68 record, by the way.
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure they're going to get 90 plus wins. Which kudos to them. But I think that when it comes down to it, they might struggle just with any of the other AL teams. I think their recent record after the All-Star break hasn't been too well, and I think that that's kind of the momentum you don't want to have going into the second half of the season. I think that's the team that maybe would struggle if I had to pick one.
Because if the season ended right now, they'd be playing the Astros, which I think the Astros' magic number currently is 2, which they're either going to clinch Tuesday or Wednesday. So they're probably going to play the Astros.
Yeah, and I mean the Astros are fighting for home field advantage with Tampa Bay. They're fighting for that top seed. So I mean, it's not to say that the Astros are also just they didn't get there by luck either. You know, they're a very competitive team, despite what's kind of been happening lately. So they're a team to watch as well. Keep an eye out for them.
I don't think the Astros are going to catch up to Tampa Bay unless Tampa Bay decides to lose other games because Tampa Bay's 97 wins.
Yeah, Tampa lost.
Astros 91 wins. So I think they're stuck there. They're probably 98% sure they're gonna play the White Sox. So that should be a good series. That'd be a good test for the White Sox.
The only way is if Tampa loses the last 6 and Houston wins the last 6. But then I don't know the tiebreaker. I don't know if Tampa or Houston has the tiebreaker.
Hey, there better not be no tiebreakers because I'm gonna be upset.
There's a lot. Like a lot could happen. We could have 163, 164. Who knows?
I don't know, man. I mean, if you're saying that Seattle or Oakland is gonna pull a miracle, then you'd be
God
that's
not what I'm saying at all. Not at all.
All right.
The Central's clinched. The West is clinched. The AL East is clinched. But then it's going to be a battle for the wild card between those 3 AL East teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, just to re-explain again, if people got lost, we're explaining how we think the playoffs are going to go for any specific team. Is it going to be good? Going to be bad for the AL and the NL? How do you think these playoffs are going to go for a specific team?
I think just kind of to echo Jeremy on the American League, I think the White Sox are going to kind of struggle, especially having to go against Houston looking like that, in the first round. Pitching, Keuchel's been all right. Rendon's good. They have some hitting there with Abreu, and the lineup is solid. But I just feel like Houston, as much as the hate is towards that team, the lineup's stacked. Pitching, they aren't as good. Greinke is not the same old Greinke.
Yeah, I was about to say they still have him, right? Yeah, right. Yeah.
He's their main ace, and you have McCullers, but really besides that, then they kind of die down pitching wise. But I think Chicago, even though they've had a good season, really they won that division by default just because it's so bad. Cleveland underperformed, right?
That's true.
You kind of forget that they made the World Series, a few years ago. So I think Cleveland or the White Sox for sure a team to struggle. And really in the National League, really all 4 teams that are going to get in are going to be great. Milwaukee's probably a team that I could be worried about just because that pitching is so good. And they can shorten the game on you in the postseason. If you only get your starter to go 5-6 innings, that's usually a win. So I think Milwaukee could be a sleeper. But really, I think whoever wins that Giants-Dodgers series, unless, the Cardinals' devil magic continues and they just somehow find a way to knock you guys off in Scherzer, I think the winner of that will ride all the way to the pennant. So we'll see.
You sound pretty confident that the Giants aren't going to be in that wild card position.
Again, like Jeremy said, Dodgers got to win out. Giants have to lose. I think go 2-4. I just don't see it happening.
I don't either. No,
unfortunately.
I've been set in my ways since mid-August, give or take. We're playing wild card. That's fine.
I think just it got lucky with the way the schedule. They just didn't have to play each other. If they had to play each other, obviously then it's a whole different sweat. But knowing that they just have to win out and they only need to lose, a few games. I don't think it's manageable, especially with the schedule. Dodgers do get the Brewers the last 3, which I think is a tough matchup.
Yeah, it's the tougher schedule this week because you got the Padres who, no matter what, even though they're eliminated, are still gonna compete, still gonna play spoiler essentially.
Exactly.
And the Brewers, obviously being a playoff team, don't want to go into the postseason on a bad losing streak or whatever. And the Brewers have the advantage over the Dodgers, in their series. I think they played 4-game series and won 3 out of 4. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I will say, though, I will disagree that the White Sox, aren't going to be as good as we think. I think pitching wise, if they match up with the Astros, will pretty much just actually it will happen. To be honest, I think starting pitching, Giolito, Keuchel, Rodon, and Lance Lynn. Starting pitching wise in a 5-game series to have 4 solid starters compared to the Astros who have Greinke and Valdez. I think.
Yeah, McCullers.
McCall. I think it's advantage. I think they're dead even when it comes to offense. Hitters. These guys all know how to hit. These guys have been there before. But when it comes down to it, pitching wise, White Sox have a little bit more of an advantage, and their bullpen is a little bit better with a guy like Liam Hendricks, closing it out. You got Kimbrel, who's still a solid vet. I think they can make a run here, and they've been, decent the last couple of years. They're kind of that same, kind of similar to Tampa. Haven't gotten through, that first round, or haven't, made a splash. And I think this is the year they do it. But yeah, we'll get into those picks in a second.
And if our last person to speak about the playoffs can go very quickly, because we gotta get into the good juicy stuff, Mr. Daniel Tom, can you at least tell me who you think is the highlight in the AL and the NL playoffs for you?
Well, my highlight is probably going to be in our last segment. So I think I just want to kind of hold.
I say we just transition right.
All right, let's transition. And because he hasn't posted who his winners are in our Google Doc, is annoying me. Okay, he thinks he's going to be all cool. And guess what? You're going first, buddy.
Why not? Why ruin the surprise? Yeah.
Our last segment here.
I like a good surprise. Here we go.
Well, I'm surprised too, because I kept looking. I'm like, yo, are you going to post it or not? But yes, we are going to announce who our World Series champions are. And so I asked everybody to pick an AL and an NL winner. And then the one surprise I don't know is who their picks are. So, Daniel, can you tell us who from the AL is going to the World Series?
So, for my AL pick, I kind of had to flip a coin to make a decision because the 2 teams I had for the AL they're both been playing really hot baseball as of late. So I actually have a rematch of last year's World Series for the World Series. I have the Rays and the Dodgers playing for the title in 21. I love what the White Sox have done and just the progression I've seen with them. But just the Rays have gotten hot at the right time, and I just don't see Chicago. I see Chicago taking it to Tampa, but I think Tampa has what it takes to put together a complete series. And that's why I think Tampa will win that series in 5. So you can book that right now. I have Tampa in 5 to get to the World Series to play the Dodgers, and I have the Dodgers winning it all, going back to back.
Excellent. And why do you have the Dodgers getting there, and why are they winning it all?
If I'm looking at the NL from a series perspective, I know as a fan, I'd love to see the Dodgers both get to the series, but also win an NL West title. But just catching the Giants at this stage in the game it's not possible. So to have to play from not necessarily behind, but to come back from a wild card to get to the World Series, I just think this team can get hot with the talent we have on the roster, all the pitching. We just have to come together when it matters, and we can't have an off day like we had against Arizona. And Arizona's nowhere near the playoff picture, but to have an off game against Arizona to make a playoff statement, you can't have that in October. So if the Dodgers really want to make this worthwhile for everyone out there, put your foot on the gas, don't take it off.
I can't believe you just said one. I know they're chasing the Giants, but having one loss in October is an off day. Wow.
I'm not wrong though. Any loss in October.
I mean, yeah,
can
it
hurt you
hurt
in the
them,
end.
but I wouldn't say it. Oh, it's the end of the road here, everybody.
It could be in a wild card game.
Yeah, in a wild card game, but I don't see them losing the wild card game. But anyways,
Baseball is unpredictable, just like any sport is. You take no games for granted, Robert.
last time I checked, it's a pastime. But anyways, haha, gotcha, buddy. Lucky you can't see your face, the disappointment in your face. But anyways, thank you for. There we go. There's that $1 million smile. What's that trophy right behind you? And he's gone. But yeah, thank you for giving your thoughts on who's gonna win it all. Would anybody like to go next on their prediction on our little wannabe prediction game here?
I'll go ahead and
Not everybody go at
Done,
once
okay.
again. Oh my goodness.
I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah, I mentioned just a little while ago. I have the White Sox and the Dodgers meeting up in the World Series. For me, like I said, I think pitching is obviously a big deal. I think the Dodgers being obviously my team, I've seen the inconsistencies. I've seen when they've been really good when it comes to pitching. Kenley Jansen, for example, had his moments, mid-season, kind of like right after the All-Star break. What the hell? Like he's lost it now. But since then, since that kind of weird week, 2 weeks, whatever it was, month, he's turned back to his first half days and looks good, looks solid. I haven't felt that sort of stress when he's gotten, come on the mound. And then the rest of the stats wise, speak for themselves. Just how the team is. ERA, they lead the league in ERA. Getting my stats here. Give me 1 second. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Yeah, lead the league in ERA. Giants are obviously second, and Milwaukee's third. White Sox 7th in the league behind the Yankees, Astros, and Rays for the American League. But I just think they have the talent, and they're sort of the quote unquote underdog of the playoff teams this year, and they're gonna break through. I have them meeting with the Rays in the ALCS, winning in 7 games. And then for the NLCS, I got the Dodgers over the Brewers in 6. And then I have the Dodgers over the White Sox in 6. So here's hoping.
Excellent. And who would like to go next after following that?
I'll go ahead and
Yes, thank
follow
you.
that up. Yeah, no worries. But so my pick for the National League, just like the other two gentlemen before me, I'm going with the Dodgers. I do think that they're going to exercise their demons with the Cardinals. I think that they'll be able to handle them behind a strong outing from Scherzer. And I think with the starting rotation, with their depth, just overall as a team, how much talent they have, I think they'll be able to put it together just like they've been able to keep up with the Giants for most of the season. And I think we're going to see the Dodgers go into the World Series. Sorry, Jonathan. I know you're probably thinking otherwise. I'm sure you're going to back your team up with that, but I'll kind of let you get into that when it's your turn. But I think, yeah, the Dodgers are just built for success. Like, you look at the team top to bottom, there are not very many holes on the team. You can probably point out maybe the bullpen, not there's maybe that's their weak point. But for the most part, I think the Dodgers are built to win it, and they're built to go far. And I think that's why they're going to represent the National League. When it comes to the AL, though, I kind of I'm 50-50 on it. I originally had Tampa Bay penciled in, but I think the winner of the Astros and Rays 3-game series that's coming up, I think starting tomorrow, the 28th, is what's going to determine, I think, who goes to the World Series. I think that's a good preview of good playoff baseball that we might see. And I think that the winner of that series is who's going to end up representing the AL. I think those are two very good ball clubs. They're both very strong in their own ways. Both have pretty good pitching staffs. The bats are all there. I mean, they're both solid teams that could go either way. So I think it's a coin flip. I want to see an Astros and Dodgers World Series. I think that would be fun to watch. I think Dodger fans would kind of want that they want to run it back from the one that they might have taken from us.
We'd be exercising a lot of demons with the way you've got your set up here.
Yeah, so I mean that would be neat. I mean that would be my ideal pick, but I can't just write off Tampa Bay just yet. So if I had to pick one though, I'll stick with Houston. I'll stick with that dream matchup of mine that I want, and I'll just say it'll be Houston and the Dodgers, and the Dodgers will end up winning that in 5 games. I'll go ahead and write that in.
Wonderful. And I know we can see what we got. So this is why I'm going to jump to our dark horse here. Mr. Jonathan Ghattas, please intrigue us with your predictions.
Yeah, obviously, all of you, and which, they've been the best team all year, going Dodgers, but I do think, and it's rare to happen, but I do think the Giants will, with just the pitching, and same thing, it's just one of those teams that once they're in the postseason, it's kind of like, it's a wrap. You kind of know they're going to make a run. At least that was the magic before. So, whether or not they replicate that, again, it's going to be a tough match. I do assume Dodgers should be able to get, by St. Louis, though. Again, the Cardinals minus, the history there with the Dodgers just right now are on, kind of reminds me, and I'm sure you guys remember this, of the Rockies when they made their run and they won about 20 plus and made it to the series, or at least, what was it, the NLCS, and they got real hot. So I think that's the only thing that could keep the Dodgers out. But if the Giants manage to get through that, Milwaukee or Atlanta, I think both of, Dodgers or Giants really aren't too concerned about either or. Whether or not, they put up a fight, that's a different story. But I think both teams could handle them. And American League, I just have to lean towards Houston. Just I think overall they have the most experience, and offensively, we know what they can do. If Boston or New York can squeak out of the first round, I could see them making it to the ALCS. So I would have Houston just facing whoever the wild card winner is. I think Boston or New York will handle Tampa. Even Toronto, honestly, would handle Tampa. Just again, it's really hard to get back to back. I know Dodgers are now having this real stretch of going, whether it would be like 4 in a row, right, or 5, and just it's really difficult. It's just to see Tampa doing it again. I don't see it happening. And I could see Houston just, again, one of those teams where they've just kind of been quiet all year, even though they're a good team. And again, they've been in the postseason. In the American League, it's always a toss-up. So I really wouldn't be scared of the White Sox or Tampa, to be honest. So I think Houston and the Giants will be an interesting rematch or not rematch, but matchup of just, previous World Series finalists. But I think that's, a World Series no one would have predicted, though. I do like Jeremy's, if it's Dodgers, Astros, watching Astros win again will be hilarious. So why not?
You kill me.
So all I heard was I like the 2 orange teams to make it.
Hey man, it's spooky season.
That would actually be the worst possible World Series for any Dodger fan.
I mean,
it literally would be.
And I think
that is true.
Me speaking, personally, I actually might be rooting for the Giants in that situation. Just from
you're not supposed to do that
from a respect from a respect level. I don't know if that was a situation. I don't know. Houston should never. Honestly, Houston shouldn't be allowed to be in this situation again. I don't know. I'm still bitter, but whatever.
Thanks, Rob Manford. You're the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. Like most Dodger fans will have a hard time picking. All right, well, you're not supposed to pick anyway. But as baseball fans, it'd be hard to pick. But I would also say what Johnson's saying is interesting. Like looking at the 2 names next to each other, Astros and Giants. Astros have been good for a while, but just to see the Giants be in the World Series right now would be interesting still. So I'm giving that to him because the two names next to each other don't make sense besides the colors that they have on their jerseys. It sounds like Matt doesn't like the color orange no more.
I can't. I can't. I just.
But don't
can't.
worry. But my favorite color, however, is blue. And
For
both
good reason.
Yes, for a good reason. I'm trying not to be biased here. But I'll move on to my picks, which I have the Tampa Bay Rays cutting, money balling all their way through the AL playoffs to the World Series once again. And the NL team, I got the opposite of them. Big spending, high paying players, good playing players, I should also say. The LA Dodgers, once again, making it back to the World Series.
So
And-
you basically stole my prediction, Robert.
No, you stole my prediction because you never put down your prediction. Hey, it's
But-
my time to talk. Get out of here. Gotta swing that out one time. But yes, I think it would be a good matchup to see again. You know, both teams going 162 all the way to the finale. We're gonna be passing by a Halloween. We're gonna get some good October/November baseball. And you know, like I said earlier in our show, Tampa Bay small market, Dodgers big market. You love to see it. Okay, it makes it more interesting. You want to see the small guy beat the big guy. And yeah, I mean, dude, looking at the Dodgers, you got Betts, Turner, Taylor, Pollock, and I bring up their names because all these guys are experienced guys. They know how to play. They know how to win. I think they're gonna dodge and weave their way through the playoffs. Even though deep down, as someone that loves to watch the Dodgers, I burn because I know that at any point they could slip up and we could start the cycle again. All right, big money team can't win. Big money team can't win because that's how it's been since 2008. So fingers very, very crossed that they play well. And I brought up that the Dodgers have guys that could win because guess what? I think they're going to win the World Series because they have guys that know how to win. Betts won with the Sox. Turner, he's been there for a long time. Taylor's been for a long time. AJ Pollock's just come back. He's hitting dingers already. Yo, playoff Seager. If Corey Seager can play like how he did last year in the playoffs and the World Series, game over. It's game over. Because, dude, he was the best player for the Dodgers throughout that whole time span of the playoffs and the World Series. And I dare one of you guys to tell me he was not the best player. And if he is on a good one, dude, that's it. Dunzo.
Maybe a Cody Bellinger haircut will give us the Cody Bellinger of the postseason we all know and won.
I mean, yes. I mean, yeah, that's one name I have not mentioned we haven't really mentioned because he just has not been playing good.
No.
It's just garbage.
And
Honestly.
I think part of it has to do with the shoulder injury and the surgery he had in the offseason, delayed for spring training. Then he gets back into the season, messes up his leg, another IL stint, comes back. Now he's got shoulders acting up, ribs, whatever. He's just had a very down year. But again, you never know what can happen in the playoffs. You get these weird moments where guys, who batted 122 the entire regular season go off and hit 7 homers, bat above 400. It's just so unpredictable, and that's what makes the sport so great. Not to mention, to add to your list, Robert, you got a guy like Trey Turner and Max Scherzer who won just 2 years ago with the Nationals, who made a run, have been there before.
Yeah, exactly. You have a lot of experience on that team.
You add that, yeah. Of course, we're biased and hopefully, things work out. But I think overall, the next, starting this week and moving to the end of November, it's going to be a hell of a ride.
I mean, here, I'll tell you this very aggressively. It's not like the other years where we spend a lot of money on bum-ass Manny Machado who can't hit for shit. And we got fucking Hugh Darvish who gets nervous and can't throw the ball. So this time, I mean, I mentioned it before. Big spending club, can't win it. This time my other excuse would be you can't get it done. You can't get it done. So You have no excuses. At this point, once again, like my other explanation, I want to try to. I'm repeating myself because this is how it's been for the Dodgers since like 2008. All the talent can't get it done. And when you lose, it's not because the other team was better than you, honestly. It's because you guys just sucked that day. Hopefully, fingers crossed, big fingers crossed that they don't blow it this time. Because, yeah, I mean, we won it, but you want to keep winning. But at the same time, I still have that same old feeling, same old Dodger feeling of, all right, well, see you next year, I guess.
We're gonna end up with a Tampa Bay Milwaukee World Series.
Okay, that would be
watch.
kind of interesting, too.
Yeah, it's fun. But from a big market standpoint, no, nobody's gonna want to watch that.
Oh, maybe not. I mean, you saw what happened in the NBA. You had Milwaukee against who was it again?
Phoenix.
There you go.
Yeah.
2 smaller teams went up to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, is there anything else? Anybody? I know we've gone longer than we probably should have, unfortunately. And sorry to our listeners also, but hey, it's the MLB playoffs. Baseball takes a long time. It's not timed. This podcast was timed poorly, unfortunately, but hey, gotta replicate the game a little bit here. So yeah. Is there anything else people would like to mention?
I just noticed, just quick pointing it out. I know 4 of us chose the same team, but we're all taking a clean sweep that the National League is going to win the World Series. So,
Correct.
interesting point there.
We all know one thing: the National League is superior.
Oh yes, of course. I don't think any. I mean, not that the AL teams are bad, but I think the NL is a harder, has been and is a harder place to play. Jonathan, can you concur to that?
No, I think the National League, there's just more strategy once, having the pitcher hit and just having a shorter lineup and having to, use more of your bench and stuff. Yeah, I think there's more strategic side to it. If you look at standings wise, if we really want to look into it, the National League does have the 2 best teams, but overall is a little bit weaker. When you look at the American League, you have the AL East where you can have 4 90-win teams, and then the division winners are going to win 90 each, where Atlanta, for example, is going to sneak away with like 85, 86 wins, and really wouldn't win a division if they were, or even if we did a 1 through 4, right, they wouldn't be there. But yeah, no, I think National League overall and just the strategic play of things, and not having the DH, yeah, it's definitely the more difficult league for sure.
Okay. And does anybody else have anything else to say? I have like 2 more things to ask you guys, and then we're good.
Bring them on.
All right, just really quick. I'll start. Everybody say which team do you think they're gonna win the World Series? Just the name. I got the Los Angeles Dodgers winning the World Series in 7. Matt, can you go next, please?
Dodgers over White Sox in 6.
Jeremy,
Dodgers over the Astros in 5.
Jonathan.
I'll go Giants in 7 over the Astros.
All right, cool. And Daniel, who you got?
Dodgers over Tampa in 6.
Okay, excellent. Well, I think that's
Cool.
everything.
So we know that both
What you got?
those
What you got?
teams will not make it, right? Since we made those predictions, right? They're both gonna get knocked out real early,
Bruh.
right? Cardinals will win. Cardinals then beat the Giants. Cardinals
Right.
win Devil Magic World Series. I'm okay with that.
Golly.
No,
Cardinals just
magic.
they're just not gonna lose at all. The rest of
Right.
it is. They just mark it down.
Yeah.
But yes, I believe if that's everything, if you guys could all say where people can find you, I'm gonna start wrapping it up here in like a few moments. Daniel, can you tell where the people can find you on the socials?
People can find me on Instagram at DTom the announcer, or they can find me on Twitter at the real DPTom. I promise I won't bombard you with useless tweets. It'll be worth a follow at some point.
Matt, where can the people find you?
All social media platforms is just my name at Matt Barrero. I I rant a lot on Twitter, but like professionally, I know I need to be better, and I'm also considering making a new Twitter. So I have my rant Twitter and like my professional Twitter. So I'll let you know if I change that. Instagram, yeah, I just whenever I do something fun, I'll post about it. But
He's lying. It's his OnlyFans Twitter. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Shoot the
Yeah.
work.
Jonathan, where can the people find you?
Same thing. Twitter will just be at my name, or Instagram will be _ Ghattas 09. And yeah, don't post much, but same thing like Barrero. Just try to keep it somewhat professional, but Twitter is kind of hard to not just rant and ramble.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on a rep here, and meanwhile, teams are getting me frustrated.
Hey, man, good thing you're on a show called Rambling Runoff, right?
Absolutely, lucky me.
There you go. Same thing for you, Jonathan. You can ramble here. You're welcome to ramble here anytime. And the last guy that we've heard today on our show, Jeremy, where can the people find you on the socials?
Yeah, I like to talk all sports and anything sports on Twitter, and that is going to be at @jgon_sports. One more time, that's going to be @jgon_sports. You want to talk anything sports related, you want to talk about playoffs, you want to talk about the NFL, you want to talk about the upcoming basketball season. I mean, you name it, I am absolutely open to talking about it. I mean, I've gone on Barrero's Twitter thread and we've chatted it up a couple times. Ghattas, the same thing, you know, and then I mean with you two, with Robert and Daniel too, we kind of just chatted up sometimes here and there on Twitter. So Twitter, I think, is where I'm most active with sports. If you guys want to go ahead and give it a chat, JGON Sports is the way to go.
And yeah, thank you. Just like to say thanks for you guys for coming on to the show today. I hopefully our predictions are come true mostly, and yeah, I hope everything was good. Oh, you got something to say, Matt? What you got?
Oh, I just wanted to thank you for having us. Thanks for leading it all the way.
Yeah,
for sure.
thank you, Robert.
Yeah, it was a pleasure being on. Felt good to kind of talk with the boys again.
No, yeah, of course.
We are nowhere without our leader.
That's the first for me. But yeah, I believe wrapping it up now. If you would like to hear more of the Rambling Runoff, you can find us on Twitter @offrambling. On Instagram, you can find us @Rambling Runoff. If you're listening to us on YouTube, thank you for finding us. Make sure you press that subscribe button and like the video, of course. Tell your friends, tell everybody. We should be available on most listening platforms. I know we're on Spotify, we're on Anchor. You can find us on. You should be able to find us on Apple Music, Apple iTunes, and you should be able to find us on Google Play, Google Podcasts. So, thank you for listening. I am your host, Robert Rios. You'll be able to hear more of us this week with our usual co-host, Danny Tan. So, thank you for listening, and have a good day, everybody. See ya.